Pancakes and Pandemonium. I don't know about where you're at, but it is cold in Utah. Snow, rain, gray skies. Like, we went from gorgeous, idyllic fall weather where it was comfortable to be outside and all the things, and now cold and wet outside. Which means we need hearty, warm, delicious dinners depending on the day, depending on what is going on. Sometimes it needs to be a really easy crock pot dinner. Sometimes it's me cooking at the stove. It needs to be heartier, it needs to be warmer. It's got to be more stick to your ribs. So I have 4 amazing recipes for you that I can't wait to share with you. My family loves these recipes. They are perfect weeknight recipes. They get done fast, whether I'm cooking on the stove or making it in the crock pot, and I can't wait to share them with you. First up, we have meatloaf sandwiches and fries. Guys, everyone loves this. We love meatloaf in all forms in my house. I rarely have leftover meatloaf, so I actually formed these like you would a burger or a different type of sandwich, made them night of. Started with 3 pounds of ground beef. I grated in 1/4 of an onion. That's what you see here. And then I'm adding in about 3/4 of a cup of just seasoned breadcrumbs, some onion powder, probably about 2 teaspoons worth, and the same amount of garlic powder. I also sprinkled in some Italian seasoning, and then I cracked in eggs. These were really small eggs. They're from our chickens, and sometimes you can't control the size you get. So I ended up doing 4 eggs, but if you just have standard large eggs, 2 or 3 should work fine. Next, we're going to pour in 5 ounces of Parmesan. I had already measured out cups, but you know, 1/2 cup or whatever you have works fine. And then get everything mixed together really good. Normally I would use my KitchenAid mixer, but since I was already going to have to put my hands in the meat to form the patties, I just went for it this time. And then we're going to start forming the patties. I was trying to, you know, make it to where it would fit on the bread, because we were just using regular old white bread slices. So, you know, I wanted the surface area to cover it pretty well. All right, we popped those in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes, and now we're starting the glaze. This is probably about a 1/2-ish cup of ketchup. I just eyeball everything and then I taste it until it tastes like what I want it to taste like. So I'm putting in brown sugar. By the way, if you are a spice-loving family, sriracha would be great in this. Per this recording, I was out of balsamic vinegar, so I used some of this balsamic glaze. And I'll tell you what I loved about it. It kind of gave it barbecue sauce vibes, which my kids loved. But yeah, then you're just going to mix it up, taste, you know, add a little bit as you go until you think it tastes incredible. It even looks like barbecue sauce, guys. So at the 20-minute mark, you're going to take them out of the oven. You're going to spoon sauce on each of your patties and spread it out. You know, you just want it kind of coating and covering. Listen, y'all, I know these pans are a mess, but some food isn't beautiful. It's just delicious. What can I say? I don't make the rules. Okay, at this point, once everything's coated, you can put it back in your 400-degree oven for another 15 minutes. Or you can pop them under the broiler for 3 to 4 minutes, just until that sauce is nice and sticky and the meat has finished cooking. Next, we're going to make fry sauce for our French fries. We're going to start with ketchup. That's roughly 3/4 of a cup. And then we are going to add in a little bit of mayo. I was out of yellow mustard when I recorded this, so I just added Dijon. Sometimes I add both, and it really does give it a great flavor, because contrary to popular belief, fry sauce is not equal parts mayonnaise and ketchup. There's more nuanced flavors to it. Now we're going to add in, I don't know, not quite a 1/2 cup of mayo, but more than 1/4 cup of mayo. Next, we're going to add in like a capful, maybe a 1.5 teaspoons worth of apple cider vinegar. This is one of those recipes, again, where you put in the start of the ingredients and then you taste and adapt it if you want more ketchup or you want more mayo. I'm adding garlic powder, probably a 1/2 teaspoon worth, and the same, about a 1/2 teaspoon worth of onion powder. But again, like, stir it, taste, and then when it tastes great to you, stop there. By the way, I don't think I mentioned there's no French fry recipe because we just used a bag of frozen fries from Walmart and popped them in the air fryer. So, but you guys, this dinner was so simple, so easy. Look, I just served it on regular white sandwich bread, like I said before, and it was perfection. My whole family loved this. Next up, we have beef and biscuits. It's kind of a pot pie style recipe. I started chopping up a half an onion. Now, this was a ginormous onion, so if yours is normal sized, I'd put in a whole onion. And then I started chopping up mushrooms. I wanted them pretty small. I wanted them to blend into the beef mixture, but I used baby bellas, which are tiny cremini mushrooms, and so they take on meat flavors really, really well. Also, I would have doubled the amount of mushrooms, so especially if you're a mushroom lover, keep that in mind. I did a Walmart order for some of the ingredients in this, and they subbed out the smaller thing of mushrooms versus the bigger one that I had on the list. So just a few notes to keep in mind, but it's a pretty flexible recipe, so do what works for you guys or whatever you can find. Next, we are going to chop up some celery. I have 4 stalks of celery here. Now, you see me chopping these up really small, and that is because I hate celery. I love the flavor celery gives to dishes, but like on its own, I hate celery. So I really hate getting massive chunks of celery in food. So I cut mine up pretty small. You do what works for you. Next up, I start cutting carrots. Now, the carrots in my bag were really long and skinny. Several of them were. You can see I had at least one normal size one. So I cut up 4 carrots. If you have normalish sized carrots, 2 would work fine. And because everything else was cut up pretty small, I went ahead and cut this up in small pieces just because that makes sense. Okay, we're gonna start with olive oil in our pan, and then we're gonna throw in our carrots, and we're gonna give the carrots a head start. They're harder, they take longer to cook, so it makes sense to start with those versus dumping everything in together or starting with the onion, etc. Okay, after we give the carrots about a 3-minute head start, we're gonna throw in the onion and the celery. We don't want to add the mushrooms just yet though. Forgive the steam, I'm not a professional, I'm just trying to be. So I let the vegetables cook, 3 minutes or so, brown the beef. This is about 3/4 of the way cooked. I'm adding some garlic powder and onion powder. Normally I would just use Trader Joe's seasoned salt. Trader Joe's onion salt. Sorry about that. But I was out at the time I filmed this video. Just give it a good stir. Salt and pepper, of course. I think I did about 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of pepper. And then we added the mushrooms. Now we're not going to completely saute the mushrooms. We're just going to stir them and let them cook for a minute or 2, and then we're going to start the other steps. Okay, then we're going to do a can of golden mushroom soup, a can of French onion soup, a can of cream of mushroom soup. And then I took a can of beef consomme and I divided it between the other cans and gave it a good stir, so I made sure I got everything out of them and dumped it back into the pan. You can skip this if you really don't want to. I just don't like to waste any little drop, and I did not want to add water later. As it is, it was still a little runny for my taste. Next time I'm going to actually do a slurry with cornstarch just to thicken it up a little bit more. And now the secret ingredient, you guys, I added 2 tablespoons of A1. And I'm telling you, it made the flavor in this casserole dish, whatever you want to call it, amazing. Then you're going to give it a good stir, dump it in your casserole dish. Guys, I love this white one. I got it on Amazon. I'll see if I can find this same one or one similar to it and link it down below. It is just massive and it just feels homey. I love it. And so, as you can see, we are topping it with biscuits. I had the Hawaiian biscuits. Whatever you have on hand will work, but we really loved these biscuits on top. Just make them all fit on top and then pop it in a 375-degree oven. It's going to take about 30 minutes for the biscuits to cook because of the volume of filling underneath them. And boom, you guys, this was so delicious. Like I said, next time I'm going to make a cornstarch slurry. I just want it a little bit thicker in the filling, but the taste was right on. It was amazing. Okay guys, next up we're going to do Sunday chicken. This is one of my husband's most nostalgic, most favorite recipes that he grew up with. His mom made it all the time. She would actually make it in a Dutch oven and pop it in the oven at 300 degrees and cook it like while they were at church for 3 hours. They just lived 2 houses down from the church when he was growing up. So I'm using our favorite carrots from Trader Joe's, my last Trader Joe's haul. I'll link it down below if you haven't seen it yet, but use any carrots you have. These are just our favorite, and it's fun to put different colors in the food. I just chopped off the ends. We give those to our chickens and then cut them in half, just so, you know, everything fits in the crock pot better and it stretches among all these people better. Next, we're going to do potatoes. Now, use whatever potatoes are on sale, whatever potatoes you love. These are, again, from my Trader Joe's haul, and they're little mini baby red potatoes. My mother-in-law, when she made it when my husband was growing up, she would sometimes not even put potatoes in it. She'd wrap potatoes in foil and throw them in the oven to bake, or she would, you know, chop up russet potatoes in half or in quarters, or half or quarter red potatoes. It just kind of depended on how much time she had, what she was in the mood for. This is one of those old school, super flexible recipes. Okay, now we're gonna make a sauce, and again, this is flexible. Use what you have available. I've been kind of obsessed with golden mushroom soup and the flavor it gives, which is why in the opening picture, the potatoes and stuff kind of had a pink tinge. So did the chicken. If you see, it's because of the soup. But I did a can of golden mushroom soup. You guys see that little spatula I'm using? It is a lifesaver. It is perfect to get everything out of a can, and you don't have that metal on metal scraping sound like a spoon or a butter knife would use. I will link those below. They were super cheap on Amazon, and they have just been a lifesaver in the kitchen lately. Just FYI, my mother-in-law's original recipe was a big can or 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. So these are my adaptions. This can be as simple or, you know, as extra as you want it to be. Now, I was out of cream of chicken, so I used cream of mushroom, and I'm adding 1 can here to the golden mushroom soup. Then just gave it a mix, and then it was time to add some sour cream, which I feel like is very important. Not much, just about a half a cup or so. And give it a stir, and boom, you've got your sauce. Now we're just gonna start putting things in the crock pot. I started with my chicken breasts. I have these boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I picked up on sale, so we use those. I will tell you, I personally like bone-in chicken breast or chicken thighs, and I think they hold up nicer, especially if I'm going to serve the chicken and the vegetables on the side with the starch. But for tonight's purpose, we ate it kind of like a stew, so these work perfectly. And my mother-in-law used boneless, skinless chicken breasts, at least from the time that I joined the family, she did. You're gonna just pile your vegetables on, pour on the sauce, and let it cook for about 8 hours. I don't know what happened to my footage. It picked back up here, so I apologize for that. But this was at the point where, you know, it was time to shred the chicken and dish everything up. Guys, this was so delicious. My whole house just went nuts over it. And we serve this a few different ways, like I said before, sometimes with rice, sometimes with stuffing. Either way, it's delicious. And last but certainly not least, we have creamy spinach and chicken pasta. This is dump and go. We've got a 3-pound bag of chicken. We have a 12-ounce bag of spinach, a brick of cream cheese, and then about a half a bag of Quattro Formaggio. You can use any cheese blend or even just Parmesan if that's easier for you, but I love this cheese blend from Trader Joe's. Last, I added about a tablespoon of Trader Joe's onion salt. Then I put the lid on it and set the timer to the 6-hour on high mark and just let it cook. Now, the last hour of cooking, I added the pasta. I actually like rigatoni better for this, but my Walmart was out, so they substituted ziti, which was fine. And it was looking like a little creamier and heavier, so I was worried the pasta wouldn't cook well, so we added a cup of water as well, and it turned out perfect. It just really let that pasta cook appropriately. Guys, on this particular night, it was snowing, so I can't stress enough how perfect this dinner was. Okay, I hope you guys loved this video. These are all dishes that were huge hits in my family and came in clutch on freezing cold nights. So I hope your family loves these every bit as my family. Don't forget to comment down below and tell me which ones you are most excited to try. Like this video and subscribe, and come back for more delicious food and more family content. I can't wait to see ya.